that.
Don't do that.
All right? Come on, say it again. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Say what? Say it again.
Don't do that.
Now, the reason why we give you instruction is that you have to turn around and take the instructions and say it to yourself. Look at me, kids. Look at me. When your parents give you instructions, your instructions will have no impact on your life unless you turn around and tell yourself what your parents tell you. So if your parents say, don't touch a stove, guess what you got to do? You're not going to remember. You have to tell yourself, because there's a part of you that only listens to you. I'm going to say it again. That's why we're unruly. That's why we're disobedient. That's why we do things. And when we ask you, why did you do that? You do like this. I don't know. I don't know. Because there's a part of you that don't listen to someone else. It listens only to you. In other words, there's two parts of you. There's a part of you that pays attention, which in today's English they call your conscious person, and there's a part of you that don't pay attention to the conscious thing, and they call it your unconscious part, but really it's your spirit. Your spirit don't listen to what other people say, but what you tell yourself. You have to feed your own spirit. I can't feed your spirit. I can speak to you and release it, but you have to take it and say, this is good. This is good. And then you said, I will do this from now on. This is what I'm going to do. And that's when it gets embedded in you. You never tell yourself. So listen to me, kids. When instructions are given to you, you have to turn around and speak to yourself. Say, listen, that's why instructions is given, for it to be passed on. You have to tell yourself, I'm not going to do anything that I was not told to do. And you know the difference between right and wrong. Why? Because you have to hide and do it. If you look at me and you see me look at you and you have that guilty feeling when I look at you, that means you know that what you did was wrong. But you'll never stop doing it until you tell yourself, I am not going to do this. Amen? Amen? Amen. Courtney, Rachel, Emily, all of you all. Don't let your parents become a broken symbol to you. Keep saying over and over and over and over and over, because it's not going to register until you tell yourself. So what are you going to do when your parents give you instructions?
Listen.
You're going to listen and?
Take it.
Because if you only listen, guess what? The only way you can do what you hear is to remember it. But when the time comes to act, your mind is so enticed by what you want to do, it's not thinking no more. So the only way, this might go over your head a little bit, but I'm going to break it down as simple as I can. In your mind, right, we're very creative in our imagination. Don't you guys imagine things that are not real, right? It's a healthy part of your life. If you have no imagination, then you cannot have vision, you cannot have hope, you cannot have dreams, you cannot have plans, because it's in your imagination. Let me ask you a question. What is 2 plus 2?
4.
How did you know the answer?
Because we paid attention.
But you saw it in your mind when I asked you, right?
Yes.
See, if I ask you, how do I get from here to my office? But how do you give me instruction if I don't know to get there?
Imagine.
Go out there and
see it in your mind.
But you see it in your imagination. So your imagination is what you use to recall. It's what you use to remember stuff. It's what you use to think. Your imagination is a very, very important part of your life. So you have to manage your imagination. But your imagination only operates on what you feed it. So you can mold your own imagination. That's how you create your future, through your imagination. So when the Bible gives you instructions, you can't just try to remember it, because that don't work. You have to tell yourself and see yourself doing it. Okay? So take the time, invest some time in yourself to tell yourself that. That's why you go through stuff to memorize stuff, right? When you learn stuff, you memorize, because what you're doing, you're telling it to yourself. And it becomes a part of you. So in your mind, tell me when, let me use 5 more minutes. In your mind, your thoughts, there's like about 50 to 60,000 different thoughts that go through your mind every single day. About 50,000 thoughts, but you don't act upon them. Matter of fact, if you really think about it, we only act upon 10 to 20% of the thoughts that goes through our mind. And the majority of those thoughts, all they do is stir up emotion. Think about it. The thoughts you think about, it doesn't really lead to your action. It really leads to the emotion. A lot of the things that we do, we don't think about it to do it. It's because our mind only thinks about the things that we want to resolve. Everything that's already resolved is already in your spirit. So when you say, I am going to read my Bible at 6 o'clock every day, and that's the end of that, it's already locked in your spirit. And when 6 o'clock comes, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to read the Bible. And you're like, how do you remember that? Because you already told yourself, and you didn't even bother to think about it after that. Because your spirit man is going to come back and remind you. You understand? So it's the things that you tell yourself. So when you do something that's wrong, long before you did it, you told yourself, you didn't have to tell yourself at the time you did it. Because you may be at school and it's like, when I go home, this is what I'm going to do. And it's just locked in. And so when you come home, when the opportunity comes, you act upon it. Mm-hmm. Because when we talk about the devil is a thought that operates in your mind that seeks the opportunity to carry out what you already intended to do. All that's left for the devil to operate in some of our mind is just to have the opportunity. Actually. So what you're determined to do is already locked in your spirit. So when you want something, tell yourself, okay? So what am I going to do?
Tell myself.
Tell myself. So when you go to school and you're going to take the test, say, well, I'm going to pass this test. Right? When the teacher begins to give you instructions, what you're going to do? Tell yourself what? This is easy to learn. It's easy to understand. I am going to remember this. Amen? Amen? Yes. Your mind will take over from there. Say, this is easy to understand, and I'm going to remember this easily. Remember that? Tell yourself that. So what my teacher teach me is easy to understand, and I'm going to remember it easily. When you tell yourself that, school becomes easy because your mind takes over. Because the things that becomes hard is because you tell yourself it is easy. You understand? What you tell yourself is hard. And I'm talking to you adults, so it's the same thing that goes with you. What you tell yourself is hard becomes hard. And what you tell yourself is easy becomes easy because your spirit man responds to the instructions that you give it. So, I remember, Rachel, remember how I taught you how to read? Remember what I said? She looked at the book and I said, reading is easy. I can do it. And what you did next? You read. Amen. Amen. She read long before they taught her to read in school. She's reading what? How many grades above your grade level? 4 grades above her grade level she's reading. Amen. Because every time she looked at an assignment and she said, this is hard, I don't help her to do it. I said, you got to change your mindset. To look at it and say, this is easy, I can do it. Because it's important to have the right mindset before you do things. It's what you tell yourself that determines the result you get. So as you go through life, adults, as you go through life, kids, before you fix something, tell yourself what you want it to be. Even when something is difficult and you don't have the answer, say, I already have the answer, I'm just not aware of it, but it's going to come to me. You tell yourself, and guess what? Your spirit responds because your spirit knows all things, all right? Amen. And this is how you go through life. Tell yourself what you want. This is easy. I already have the answer, I'm just not aware of it, but it's going to come to me. All right? Amen. So tell yourself, I'm a good kid, I'm very obedient, I'm going to do what my parents say. And when your parents give you specific instructions, you turn around and tell yourself, I said, Rachel, when you go home, do your homework. Turn around and say, when I go home, I'm going to do my homework. You understand? Cassidy, when your mama said, don't pick on Daniel, I am not going to pick on Daniel. You understand? When I say, go inside and clean up a room, I'm going to go and clean up my room. Life becomes so much easier. And what you do, you're devil-proof your life. The devil does not have access when you tell yourself the instruction that's given unto you. Amen? Amen. Amen. That was it.
Amen.
Wasn't that good?